Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. I, Shwetambari Borade, the moderator for this webinar, would like to welcome each one of you present here today on behalf of Shan and Kakachi Engineering College, Mumbai, India. We at SAKEC Research Cell take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you present here today for this hybrid webinar series, Innovative and Emerging Technologies in the Field of Research, which is hosted in collaboration with 25 plus national and international partners. Here, I would like to make special mention of our collaborator, Wiley Publications. Now, I would request Deepak sir to come up to take the stage. Deepak sir?
Yeah, thanks, Sutambari. Uh,
Yes.
my name is Deepak. I'm marketing manager at Wiley. And first of all, a very warm good afternoon to everyone. And I welcome you all to this session on Agile Scrum Practices for Business Gains by Rama Bedarkar, hosted by Shah and Anchor College, Kachi College, in association with Wiley. We would also like to thank our author, Rama Bedarkar, for taking out her time and agreeing to conduct this session. A special thanks to you all for joining this session. It's a pleasure to have you all in this session, and it's a pleasure to introduce Wiley to you all. I'm proud to inform you that Wiley is a publishing company that has published work of more than 450 Nobel laureates and has over 210 years of publishing heritage. We are headquarters at Hoboken, USA. Founded in 1807 by Charles Wiley, it is now the seventh generation that is managing the Wiley Company. To make a better connect between us, I would like to share names of few of our renowned authors, which include Wesley, Halliday, Walker, Solomon, J.D. Lee, Galvin, and Simon Higgins, to name a few. We at Wiley have been helping people and organizations develop the skills and knowledge they need to succeed. We develop digital education, learning assessment, and certification solutions to help universities, businesses, and individuals move between education and employment and achieve their ambitions. Our online scientific, technical, medical journals, books, and other digital contents have been built on a 200-year heritage of quality publishing. Our mission has always focused on helping our customers succeed wherever they are in their career and education arc. Over 15 million researchers and professionals are working with our 1,200 non-profit partners. We have 222 online program partnerships with universities and over 6 million users are using our training platforms. In short, Wiley has a presence across the entire career arc of any professional. Our core publishing strengths here in India are engineering with special focus on emerging technologies like Agile Scrum, Internet of Things, data analytics, machine learning. Apart from engineering, we publish in management and test prep for admissions and jobs. Thank you all. Now may I please request Shwetambari to take this session forward. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. So with great pleasure, I will again like to introduce our speaker, Ms. Rama Bedarkar, who is going to talk on Agile Scrum Practices for Business Gain. Now, let me tell you more about her. Ms. Rama is an Agile Scrum deployment mentor and coach and quality practicing and training consultant. She holds two master's degree, one is management and the other is in computer science. She has been a core software information technology professional, having 27 years of solid experience in multiple professional areas like project management, quality management, process management, program management, technology management, people management, and customer management in India, as well as in Singapore and USA. She has been working in Agile coach and Scrum practicing, mentoring, and training consultant for the last 6 years. A thought leader of Agile methodology in software domain, Rama ma'am has been a progressive, forward-thinking Scrum practitioner. While deploying the Scrum.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So
fine.
just slideshow F5. Done, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So I'll start now. Okay, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. And let me start first by thanking SAKEC's research department team. I am highly privileged to deliver this particular session in the emerging technologies. My special thanks to Dr. Nilakshi madam and Shwetambari madam. And I would also like to thank Wiley India's team, Deepak and Manish, their department, marketing department heads. Thank you, everybody. I'll start with my session now. The session is titled as Agile Scrum Practices for Business Gains. Now, I have been working as a Scrum consultant, and Wiley has recently published my book on Agile Scrum, Improving Practices for Business Gains. And this book has been written by me, covering few of my experiences of deployment for last 7 to 8 years, total 27 years of experience, and last 7 years I've been working as Scrum consultant only, based in Pune. And I found that, a lot of things have been said in the book, but practically, how to make Scrum effective for the business gains and how operationally all these practices can be made effective are some of the areas which really needs, a different kind of overview as well as a thought process. And that is why this book has been written by me. So the book consists of section A, which has got all the Scrum practices, their objectives, operational guidelines for implementation effectiveness, some challenges as well as solutions, and the business gains. Section B talks about comparison of all the management aspects with waterfall mode, like project management, quality management, customer management, risk management, and cost management. And section C is completely dedicated for the case studies. These are based on the different themes and the challenges which I've faced in my consulting assignments. And each theme is a challenge with different practices, and the roadmap of solutions have been given. So to tell you very frankly, the book is for everybody, for the fresher, for the experienced software engineers, for the middle management, project management, quality management people, for the consultants, and everybody. Since it is an emerging technology coming in, Scrum has become very popular in the software industry, in the software product development, as well as the project management. And that is why it is really a key emerging technology of the day to day. Okay. And the takeaway of the book is Scrum never fails. And I'm very sure you would enjoy going through the book. Coming back to the agenda today, I'm going to cover a few things considering the audience and then the different profile of the audience. I'm going to talk about, what is agility in software development? What are the different business advantages of this agility? And then I'm going to talk about briefly, just giving you the different agile software development methodologies and then move to Scrum. So just brief introduction about the Scrum, and then I'll focus more on the Scrum practices for business gains. And how to make these practices effective and what are the business gains. Some challenges, and then we will move to question and answers.
Ma'am,
Now,
Rama,
yes.
to interrupt, but I just want to tell you that your PPT is not seen in the slideshow mode.
Oh my God. I'm okay. Thanks for telling this, that was the same case the other day, right? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, what
Yeah.
you can do is you can stop sharing once and first keep the PPT in slideshow mode and then you can start sharing the slideshow.
Yeah. Just a minute. Yeah. Just a minute. Huh? I think the same thing happened. Yeah. Okay. Can you see it now?
Ma'am, you've not, yeah, just a second, it's coming, ma'am. Yes, perfect, ma'am. Now you can continue.
Perfect, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, perfect.
Yeah. Fine. Thanks, Swetamari, for pointing out this. Yeah.
No problem, ma'am. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Yeah. So, agility is something, like quick to respond and be flexible but focused and be result oriented. That is agility. And this agility can be achieved in today's business world, which is called as VUCA world, which is really volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. That this agility brings in the business value. And the same agility we are trying to bring in using Scrum framework in the software development. And it is really imperative in software development because requirements are never clear at the beginning. Generally, 40% of our defects are due to gaps of interpretation of the software requirements. And then, many times the requirements are never fixed, they evolve. And the clarity of the product features also evolves. And this evolves by cross collaboration. And then it is very difficult to handle those requirements. So we really need to be agile. And customer involvement and collaboration is a key in actually developing a product for the customer that helps in enhancing the quality. So working software in execution mode after every 2 weeks is the focus of this agile methodology. And continuous testing, in an inspect and adapt mode by continuous testing is also another key feature of the agile software methodology. Now, what are the business advantages? The business advantages are reduced risk of projects getting failed. Many times software products you start developing and then they fail only because the requirements are not properly conceived. And this is basically, drives to efforts as well as cost overrun. Then business advantage of agility is basically reducing these efforts and cost overrun, reducing rework, reducing time to market, generating better quality and naturally the productivity. And if the quality of the product is good, then the support cost is also reduced. The operational cost is also reduced. And since we are actually giving the software product very frequently to the customer, achieving ROI by the customer is faster. And this is actually driving to generate a self-organized cross-functional performing team because Scrum focuses more on collaboration. And customer satisfaction is a automatic byproduct demonstrated. Employees' well-being and work-life balance is another advantage. So there are lots of advantages. These are the advantages of being agile. Agile development methodologies are many. Scrum is the most popular. 95% of the global software is being developed today using Scrum framework. There are other methodologies like extreme programming, Kanban, feature-driven development, then DSDM, dynamic system development methodology, lean software, and many more. This is just to name the few of them. Our focus is completely on Scrum. As I said, 95% of the global software being developed using Scrum today. I'll just throw some light. Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schauber presented a paper in a conference in 1995 in Austin to give this framework, and they call it as Scrum. Now, what is Scrum? Scrum is a word which is used in rugby to denote teamwork. And the framework is fully designed with teamwork and collaboration in mind. The framework has got few pillars. The yellow highlighted are the pillars in the slide. Scrum starts with Scrum values. Now, what are Scrum values? We'll see subsequently. Right now, here I'm just listing all the different practices and the pillars of the Scrum framework. It has got Scrum values. It specifies specific roles like product owner, Scrum master, and the team. The roles are given specially, that is, who does what and how it is done, to give the details, about the roles. There are processes and practices specified as ceremonies. Why they are called as ceremonies in Scrum? It's because in ceremony, all the people, they come together and then they collaborate. Same way, all the practices are based on complete collaboration, and that is why they are called as ceremonies. Team collaboration and customer collaboration are the key pillars of this framework. Frequent delivery of the software for the business and continuous improvement by empirical way. Now, what is empirical way? Empirical way is whenever you are deploying the practices, you are improving continuously. Continuous improvement by the experience which you achieve by deploying the practices is empirical way. Sometimes this is also called as a Shuhari methodology. Now, why Shuhari? Shuhari is a Japanese term which is used basically to master martial art in Japan. When you start learning this particular game, the Shu stage talks about learning the rules, the regulations. Okay, Ha is a stage when you deploy and you start practicing those rules in practice and you master those rules. Okay, and now whenever you are mastering those rules, you will understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and depending on your strengths and weaknesses, you would tweak those rules to come up with your own rules. That is re-stage. So that means you're coming up with your tweaked rules of learning martial art based on your strengths and weaknesses. That is what Scrum talks about. And this is a key parameter of this framework. And this is a very strong advantage. And naturally, because of this, there is a lot of flexibility. And this flexibility is many times misinterpreted. And then the Scrum is not successful. But learn by experience based on the team strength and weaknesses is the key factor when you deploy Scrum practices. Now we will be talking about all these practices and the pillars in details. When I say Scrum values, basically, no single individual can add business value. What are the different Scrum values? Scrum values talk about focus, commitment, transparency and openness, courage to say I need help, courage to say I'm failed. In today's management concept, there are no failures. All our failures are learning lessons. Hence, we should have this courage to say, yes, I have failed and now I'm going to learn from this. Another aspect of this Scrum value is respect for everybody. So these are 5 different Scrum values very explicitly specified in the framework guidelines. Because the whole work is based on the teamwork with collaboration. And you cannot have a solid collaboration without focus, commitment, transparency, openness, courage, and respect. Another aspect is agile mindset. Agile mindset is very, very crucial. Now, leadership with growing mindset is needed. Like old management concepts where control and command used to be the right way of handling the teams have become absolute now in VUCA world. We have distributed power. Everybody is a leader in the team of their own deliverables. And all these members, being leaders of their own deliverables, come together, collaborate, and deliver. And not you and me, but the delivery and then the focus and the result is important. So it is flexible, but very much result oriented. The practices, which, as I said just now, are called as ceremonies, are something which are given here. First thing is we have iterative product development. So we use sprint. Sprint is a fixed time frame based, 2 weeks to 6 weeks time frame based focused iteration. Okay, so this focused iteration will help us to deliver what customer wants every 15 days. So generally 2 weeks is the time frame which is taken, for delivering to the customer using Scrum practices. Now requirements analysis which we do in waterfall is done by using product backlog management. Sprint planning is a ceremony which is just identifying what are the contents which you are going to deliver in this 2 weeks sprint time frame. Sprint execution and monitoring is done on the daily basis. I remember when I was like a software developer in my early days of career, we used to use waterfall, and then we used to monitor based on the weekly basis or even on the monthly basis for the long duration projects. Now here the control is execution and monitoring of this particular project or this particular sprint is done on the daily basis. So daily tracking is another advantage. Sprint review for assessing the product quality. Now when the sprint review ceremony is conducted, we are reviewing the product which we are delivering to the customer at the end of the sprint. And this is being reviewed by the customer. So customer and product owner, PO is a product owner, they get involved at the review level. And then at this time, the customer knows what is being delivered to them. So there are no surprises to customer. So sprint review is for reviewing or inspecting and adapting the product. And sprint retrospective is for continuous improvement of the process, the practices which you have deployed. So retrospective is, just like what I said in earlier slide, continuous improvement by your deployment experience in being empirical. So whatever you have deployed as practices and processes, where you went wrong, what you could have done better, and how you can control that in the next sprint. These are some of the controls which we see in retrospective. Okay. Now this is a slide which talks about the complete Scrum process. The product owner is given here. This is the product backlog, which is nothing but the list of all the product features. You prioritize this and come up with a sprint backlog, what you need to deliver at the end of 2 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever is the time frame of your sprint. And then you are grooming those features and conducting the daily Scrum. So this is the iterative cycle. So this iteration helps us in delivering timely to the customer. Then we have the sprint review and then we have the sprint retrospective. I'm going to talk about one practice at one time followed by the business gains of that practice. Now product backlog preparation. Now what is product backlog? As I said, it's a list. It's a list of requirements and features. And this list is owned by the product owner. And each of these list line, it's just a repository of one-liner feature. And each of this line is a product backlog item. We call it as a PBI. And it includes everything: functional, non-functional requirements, defects, technical work, R&D work, epics and spikes. Epics are the big features which need more than one sprint, and spikes are some of the R&D and technical activities whose effort estimation is very difficult. Okay, it can be an R&D activity. So these are the product backlog items. They are continuously prioritized, sized, and scheduled depending on what is the customer's business need. The time is allocated for each sprint for updating this product backlog, and this product backlog must be kept up to date every time. It should be updated frequently by the product owner. Now, what are the advantages of handling this product backlog compared to SRAs and PRDs? SRAs is a systems requirements document, systems requirements specification document. We used to use that in waterfall. Or PRD is product requirement document. We used to use that in waterfall in product development. These used to be very lengthy documents, moving from 20 pages to 120 pages, and nobody read those documents. The details were not given, and the changes happened so frequently that after some time, these particular documents, they become absolute. Nobody refers them because the documents do not contain the updated information. Now, compared to this, product backlog management is just-in-time lightweight requirements management. What is just-in-time? JIT is just-in-time. That means it's a very lightweight requirements management, and then this requirement they evolve by collaboration. And feature-based detailing is done, at single product backlog item level. Now, this product backlog management is mapped to requirement analysis. As I said, there are two activities which are done very commonly on this product backlog: refining product backlog and grooming PBI. Refining is cleaning up, prioritizing, breaking the epics, that is the big features, adding product performance parameters, adding technical R&D activities, everything together. This is owned by the product owner. This refining is continuously done by the product owner within the time frame of the sprint. And then grooming is for product backlog item. Grooming is requirements analysis. Now this grooming is one of the ceremony which is advocated by the Scrum guidelines. Now this is pretty well planned and scheduled from 2 hours to 4 hours per sprint for the team. And teams should know what features should be groomed, and they should ensure that they prepare for this grooming session to make it more effective. Now, why this grooming session is conducted? Because we have multiple people and multiple stakeholders within the team. You have the developers, you have the testers, you have the business analyst, you have the middle management like quality manager, project manager, architect, so many people as part of the team. And then grooming is generally done to understand each and every person or stakeholder's perception. So we evolve the requirements by collaboration and make it effective. Now, how do we do the grooming session? Grooming session is conducted with some of the parameters which are given here. Now, these parameters, I have given them as some of the evolved activities from my Shuhari experience. As I said, some of the practices which I'm talking about in this particular presentation, they may not be part of the standard Scrum guidelines. They have been evolved by me and then added into the practices to ensure that the product development, the software product development becomes effective. So I conduct grooming session based on these 5 parameters: understanding business requirements, what end user wants, understanding implementation workflow, understanding impacted areas of the particular feature of the product, then the acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is the key parameter. This is nothing but on what criteria the end user or the customer is going to accept this as a product feature. And these criteria are explicitly specified at early stage so that the developers also will focus on that while they are doing the coding. The testers also will focus on that while they are doing the testing. The architects also will ensure that they give the right advice to the product architecture development activities. And then we talk about assumptions, dependencies, and risks associated with the product backlog item. Now, what are the business gains here? Again, very lightweight, just in time. The granularity is known at one feature level, which was never a part of my SRS or PRD earlier in waterfall mode. Team involvement and collaboration is another key. You get to know different perceptions. Everybody thinks from their own glasses, The testers' glasses are different and the coders or software developers' glasses are different. It's easier to understand multiple views and different perspectives are known at early stage. Once the grooming is done, then the coders will write the user stories. Now, user story is a fantastic tool recommended by all the agile software development methodologies. Now, it's just one sentence description of goals, objectives, and business benefits with acceptance criteria together. We call it as user story because it is narrated in a layman's language. No technicalities are involved. It is like a story, like how our nani used to tell us when we, used to hear in our childhood. So this talks about a very simple one sentence deployment of the requirement. In brief, who, what, why, how of a requirement is clarified in this one sentence. Goal is a business goal, and business benefits acceptance criteria are, on the basis of which that particular feature will be evaluated by the customer. User stories can also be written for functional, non-functional requirements like security, performance, scalability, for technical work, for R&D work, everything, even defects. If they are legacy product defects, you can write user stories to understand the requirements better. Acceptance criteria are explicitly specified to verify the value. We want to ensure that we generate and meet these goals and objectives of the particular user story. And how these goals and objectives of a particular user story can be evaluated, they are evaluated based on these acceptance criteria. And once this grooming is done and user stories are written, we size them. In agile software development methodologies, story point or t-shirt sizing is used as the unit of estimation for sizing. And this sizing is done based on the complexity and efforts. Okay, but this is a rough estimation. And this is just to ensure that how much time and how many man hours we are going to need to deliver this particular user story or this particular feature. The business gains from the user story is granular analysis with acceptance criteria. This is a very powerful business gain. Again, when you compare this with waterfall, this never happened in waterfall. Another practice is sprint planning ceremony. Now, as I said, sprint is a short duration iteration. We plan sprint goals. We plan what customer wants in this particular sprint. This is based on customer's business need and business requirement. So we select user stories and related functionality. Now, same length iteration for a sprint is needed. You should never have one sprint of 2 weeks and another sprint of 3 weeks and so on. Because we want constant capacity-based understanding productivity. Capacity is how many man hours we are putting in. I have 5 people and they are putting in 8 hours per day. So every day my team is putting in 40 hours. And in a week, they are putting in 40 into 5 days. So 200 hours, something like that. That is the capacity. Then we achieve the velocity. How much we have achieved. How many story points we have delivered in this particular sprint. That is the velocity. We set activities, rhythm and pattern of activities within the sprint when the sprint is of the same length. So time frame and rhythm based scheduling is the key of this particular sprint and iterative development. The business gains are controlled short duration based delivery in available time, span and efforts. Depending on how much capacity we have within our team, we will select the actual scope of the sprint. This is called as a sprint backlog. We will ensure that whatever is our focus, we deliver according to the focus. Okay, and we test them in such a way. It is easy to test because the scope is very limited. And controlled testing happens. That is also a very strong business advantage because we are delivering to the customer, for their end users usage. Because whatever is the deliverable of a sprint will be used by the customer in their live production environment. That is the advantage. And that is why ROI is really faster. Another fourth practice is sprint execution and tracking. As I said earlier, tracking is very, very important. We execute sprint and we track it on the daily basis. And what is the ceremony which is used? They call it as a daily stand-up meeting or daily scrum. This is the term which is used for daily tracking. And this is just a stand-up meeting, literally as the word indicates, The whole team comes together for 15 to 20 minutes. They attend together at a part of the location. Personal communication is more important over documentation. Whatever I have done, I'll narrate. If I'm stuck up somewhere, I want help, I will just say explicitly that I need help here. Whatever are the impediments which I'm facing, that each and every team member is facing, these impediments are resolved by the whole team. we need not waste our time if the know-how is known to somebody in the team. There is why reinventing wheel is needed in the team, because efforts are very much related to money and we save our efforts, and that is why transparency, collaboration, impediments handling by the team, these are some of the goals of this daily stand-up meeting. And what do we track? We track user stories, tasks, efforts, schedule, burn down, how many hours of efforts we have put in is burned down, the risks, impediments, targets, etc. In case if we are stuck up, we take action immediately. We are agile. And that is the best advantage. We are agile. We want to resolve the issues as soon as possible. We will not wait for the people, to keep hanging, lingering with the issues in their hand. That is the advantage. The business gains again, focused actions based on tracking. Delivery is never missed because it is focused delivery, and changes can be controlled because the scope is very limited. Sprint review is to inspect and adapt the product. Now our product is ready. We are assuming that whatever the features which we had identified in our sprint backlog have been coded, they have been tested continuously, and they are now ready, and they can be demoed. Demonstration of these features can become given to the product owner as well as to the customer. So success is measured by working software. So basically thing is, we ensure that our features and software is working properly, and then the demo of these features is given seamlessly in the sprint review meeting. And sprint review meeting is attended by the product owner so that he can approve those features in the sprint review. And this is also another opportunity for the team to track the sprint performance. How many planned versus actual we have delivered the stories? What is our velocity which we have achieved? Then planned versus actual velocity achieved. How many defects we injected? So this can be, I have just given a few examples of these measurements, but the measurements can vary in number depending on how your team goes on maturing by deployment of Scrum. Even the individual level metrics can be added, the team level metrics can be added, the business value which is added can also be assessed at the end of the sprint. So sprint performance can be tracked in the sprint review. Business gains is customer involvement. Remember, like customer, when they get involved at the early stage in seeing the demo of the product, the execution of the software features, then there are no surprises to customers. So inspecting product features before delivery is the biggest advantage. Customer involvement at early stage is the biggest advantage. So nothing goes wrong in the production environment because we are already ensuring that a customer and the product owner, they sign off. Sprint retrospective is the 6th ceremony. It's a Scrum, very strong Scrum practice. The objective is to learn from sprint deployment experience. As I said, inspect and adapt the process. Inspect is to test our process, and adapt is to again make changes based on our strengths and weaknesses, and move in empirical way. This is where the Shuhari concept is added. We learn from our deployment experience based on our team's strengths and weaknesses. So this is generally a ceremony which takes 45 minutes to 1 hour. We focus on what was good and what we did well as a team in this sprint, and we continue doing that. And then what needs improvement? Where can we improve? Just list down all those items. What are the areas where we really can add value and can improve in our next subsequent sprint? Prioritize them, okay, and then take an action for the next sprint. For each prioritized improvement action, we can have an owner, and this owner will be anybody from the team who will be responsible for tracking this improvement action in the next sprint. So we are continuously improving. Here we maintain transparency and have courage to accept our shortcomings. It is very, very difficult to throw light as a team on our shortcomings. We generally try to hide our failures. But as I said earlier, there are no failures in today's VUCA world. These are all learning lessons. So we should have courage to say, yeah, these are the things which we have not done effectively. Maybe in the next sprint, we can do this in different way so that we can add value and we can be better in our productivity as well as in the quality. So this is the main objective of the sprint retrospective. The business gains are learned from experience with continuous improvement, improve practices to get consistent team performance, and transparency in accepting failures. We are open, transparent, and we accept failures as team failures and not as individual failures. And we have the courage to say, yes, we failed, but these are our learning lessons. Effectiveness of practices in business. Now, as I said, these practices have been designed so beautifully well by Jeff Sutherland and Kent Schauber that, the ownership is not with individual, the ownership is with team, the people, and what is the crux is the collaboration. And that is why it is very simple and easy to understand. Just 5 ceremonies and 5 to 6 practices. Can we imagine just few practices and the effect is so much? This is just in time sprint planning, faster ROI achievement. It is really easy to learn, but the most difficult framework to deploy because it is based on some of the assumptions like Scrum values and all. Many times we assume that customer involvement is there, but customer involvement drives customer satisfaction, but sometimes it is not there. So the effectiveness needs to be brought in by collaboration. It improves productivity, improves product quality. As I said, reduces defects, cost of development, because the time and efforts are less. So naturally the cost is less. The software testing is better, very effective, because the focus of a sprint is very limited. Practices enhance collaboration and ownership. Each individual, as I said, is a leader of their own deliverable. And that is why this ownership is very important. When all the team members, they own their own deliverables, we deliver as a team. And then the result is team empowerment and well-being. A very good team formation. Highly performing team is being formed at the end of the sprint and the release. Juniors also learn from seniors because of this collaboration. Some of the areas like technology, domain, processes, there are a lot of areas which juniors are really not aware of because they have come very recently from their engineering colleges, from their institutions, and they are not aware of the practical software product development intricacies. And that is why Scrum helps them also. So these are some very strong advantages. But I would like to highlight on challenges also. As I said, it's the most simple framework to understand, but very difficult to deploy. And very, very difficult to see the results because there are, some of the parameters like number 1, consistency of deployment of these practices is very essential. It is imperative. Improvement continuously, based on your strengths and weaknesses, very, very essential. Learning from the deployment experience to be empirical is very, very difficult, because we really have to be very, on our toes to understand where we failed and how do we want to improve in our next sprint. And that is why difficult to deploy, as I said. Some of the challenges are mindset of agility by the leadership. People are very resistant to change. We are still living in the old management concept where we think that command and control is the only way of handling team, but that doesn't happen. Scrum or any agile software methodology will never focus on this traditional management concept. So people must change. Another thing is customer involvement and collaboration. Customers should be made aware that customers' involvement is essential for the product development. Finally, for whom we are developing the product, for the customers. So we want to ensure that they get the right thing in their hand. Consistency and continuous improvement, as I said earlier. Empirical way, Shuhari concept is not understood. People do not understand that we have to learn by improving continuously. And incorrect practices or interpretation of the practices done in wrong way is some of the area, like misunderstanding practices and then deploying them in wrong way doesn't add value. So such practices do not add value. Engineering practices should be clean before Scrum is deployed. Now, what do I mean by engineering practices? I mean, using the version control system, software, I'm talking about software engineering practices here. Version control system, continuous integration system, continuous deployment system, different testing environments and development environment, different user acceptance environment, then having similarity in the different production environment as well as in the UAT environment, user acceptance testing environment. So these are some of the basic engineering, software engineering practices which should be in place. If these practices are not in place and then you try to deploy Scrum, then naturally it is going to be messed up. There are challenges, but these challenges can be handled. They can be slowly actually improved by making the changes in your mindset. And then the team building happens so well that the final end result is empowered team. And you will see some of the business gains which are tangible, some may be intangible. So we already have thrown light on the tangible business gains like productivity, quality, and other things. But there are some intangible like empowered team members, better collaboration, customer satisfaction, team satisfaction, that is employee satisfaction, these are some of the better collaboration, better transparency, better team environment, no stress because of the human interaction. Now, these are some of the intangible benefits. They are soft benefits, but they drive your organization a long way. And that is why Ken Schauber, in his one of the blog, has written a sentence, beautifully narrated sentence, Scrum never fails. I would like to end my presentation by saying Scrum never fails. You deploy Scrum, you can see the business value by consistent deployment and improvement in Shuhari way. Those tangible values can be measured in the measurement and metrics format. You can also have some intangible benefits which will help you to go or to take the organization long way. And these are the Scrum values. And I'm very sure in today's lockdown situation, these Scrum values are helping a lot in the software industry because all of the organizations are working, people are working from home for last 80 days. And then you will be very surprised to understand or know, I read in Times of Business Times the other day that Pune has delivered maximum in the lockdown situation because of the Scrum practices, because of the tools used for collaboration, because of the working from home has been effective. So Scrum never fails. Okay, so I'm done. Shvetambari.
Yes, ma'am, I'm right here. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for the words. And the first question is, what is velocity with respect to Scrum?
Oh yeah, let me elaborate. See, as I said, user stories or features, or I would say user stories, they are sized based on the complexity, okay, and then the efforts, and the sizes can be actually called measured in a unit called as a story point, okay, and story points are nothing but Fibonacci numbers, that is 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, this is a Fibonacci number series. So when I say a particular user story complexity, the size is 3, and when I say the size is 5, I'm saying that a user story with a story point 5 is bigger, more complex, and needs more efforts compared to a story with a story point size 3. Okay. And then when we select the story point, suppose if I select story point 5 features and the size of the all 5 feature story point is something like 30, then that is my planned velocity. But when I deliver out of these 5 features, I deliver only 4, and then I'm delivering something like only 32. Sorry, 28 maybe, less than 30. Then in that case, that is my velocity. So velocity is how much product you have delivered, how much software you have delivered in the form of features whose size is 28. Okay, so this is a kind of a unit which is used to measure the productivity of the team. Have I answered you? Yeah.
Yeah, that is understood, ma'am. So the next question we have is, what is the difference and similarity between Agile and Scrum?
Agile is a bigger terminology used for in any business entity. It can be a trading, service industry, manufacturing industry, anywhere. Agility is quick to respond. As I said, my first slide and my first sentence of the slide is quick to respond. Be focused, collaborate, and deliver value. So result-oriented work is the focus of being agility, because we are quick in responding. That is agility. But agility is a bigger domain. Now, agile software development methodologies, as I said, there are multiple different frameworks and methodologies which come under this agile umbrella. So extreme programming, Kanban, FDD, these are all which I had given in one of my slides, is basically talking about the agile software development methodology. So the difference is there are many. Agile is being quick to respond in developing, and within the domain of the agile, Scrum is one of the framework. So actually there is no similarity. Scrum forms as a part of the bigger domain as agile methodologies. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, ma'am. Ma'am, one last question is, what is the duration of a Scrum sprint?
Yeah, so duration can vary from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. But if it is a smaller duration, it is better to control. If it is 6 weeks duration, then the duration of 6 weeks is pretty long enough to have a controlled delivery to the customer. So it is always better to have a smaller duration of the sprint. So in 2 weeks, you need to deliver some of the product features. So in 2 weeks, when I say 2 weeks, then there are 10 working days. So within the 10 working days, and within how many team members you have, you know your capacity, and based on your capacity, you can pull in your work as a sprint backlog, and then that sprint backlog is delivered. Okay, so actually 2 to 6 weeks is the standard norm, but I would prefer 2 weeks, the lesser or the shorter time frame, to be more effective.
Okay, ma'am. So at this point, I would really thank you for addressing to our attendees. And on this note, ma'am, I would like to offer you a small token of appreciation on behalf of Shahananka Kachi Engineering College, Mumbai, India. And thank you so much, ma'am, for giving out your wise words.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everybody, and thank you for this token of appreciation. It's going to be a feather in my cap, and I'll be happy to get associated with SAKEC in future also. Again, thank you so
Sure,
much.
ma'am.